What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be speaking about having your moon trining your partner's Pluto in synastry. So this aspect is one of those aspects that does bring a lot of depth into a relationship between two people. It is also one that makes the connection very intense as well. And when it comes to having your Pluto trining your partner's moon, this also makes it so that between the two partners, they feel like they have met someone who just gets them on a totally other level. So what makes this aspect so special is that because the moon is all about our emotions, it is our inner world, it is also what we need to feel safe and also feel connected in a relationship. When it comes to Pluto, on the other hand, it is a planet that's pretty intense. It brings a lot of intensity with the death and rebirth energy. It also leads to a lot of transformation. And Pluto is generally about digging beneath the surface. So when the moon and someone's Pluto are linking up in a trine, which is a very harmonious aspect, this makes it so that the harmonious aspect is supposed to make things flow. But with this aspect, it especially can really bring out a lot of emotional depth between the Pluto person and the moon person. Almost like a feeling of being able to see into someone's soul and being able to understand them without the need of having to have to say too much. When it comes to their relationship or their connection with this aspect, it makes it so that there is this level of understanding each other and where they're coming from in a way that is like there is this unspoken understanding between the two of them. And when it comes to having this aspect in a relationship, it also leads to both of the partners feeling safe enough to be able to open up to each other about their deepest insecurities and the things that they normally try to keep hidden. With the trine between the moon and Pluto, makes it feel like something about this connection feels safe enough to be able to be vulnerable with each other. Because with this aspect, it can bring a sense of comfort. It can feel comforting, even feel a bit healing for both of the partners. And even beyond just the feelings that come out with this aspect, there's also a strong physical attraction, and it can be pretty intense here too. When it comes to having this aspect with someone, you can feel very drawn to each other, but can't quite account for or put their finger on what exactly is really drawing them to each other. But there's definitely this sense of attraction between the moon person and the Pluto person towards each other. But because this is a trine, the nice thing about having a trine between these two planets is that when it comes to their connection, this does bring some intensity to their connection, but it is in a supportive way. Because with the trine, it tends to be a pretty positive energy bringer to a relationship. Over here, the Pluto person isn't pushing too hard when it comes to the moon person, but they are kind of inviting the moon person to be able to explore their emotions deeper and to explore new depths. So for the moon person, this can bring about an empowering kind of a feeling with the Pluto person, and it can also bring a feeling of being understood by the Pluto person. Also, for the moon person and for the Pluto person, this makes the connection feel especially transformative, and it happens in a way that feels like a healthy and balanced way that they get to that point. But still, with this aspect, it can be a pretty powerful aspect to have be brought into a relationship. And with that, especially if there does seem to be a connection where there's a lot more lighthearted aspects between the two of them, having this aspect on top of that can really make for a bit of an overwhelming energy between the two partners. But in the positive, when it comes to having the moon trining Pluto, this does make it so that the connection gets turned into something very deep, meaningful, and it's going to be unforgettable too. When it comes to this aspect, for both of them, they're quite drawn to each other. But for the moon person, when it comes to how they feel about the Pluto person, the moon person can sense this feeling that they can trust the Pluto person with their feelings. And for that reason, the moon person can be quite vulnerable in this relationship with the Pluto person. While on the other hand, when it comes to the Pluto person, they could actually genuinely want to understand the moon person on a deep level. And the Pluto person also wants to protect the moon person here. And overall, there's just this natural feeling of trust and loyalty that this aspect can bring between the two partners towards each other. and they can feel like what they have is something special, something very unique, and that both of them feel that they're irreplaceable to each other. But when it comes to the more challenging sides of this aspect, it does bring in a lot of emotional depth, and with that emotional depth comes a lot of intensity, and what they can experience is emotional highs and lows in this relationship with each other. And for the moon person, this can also look like a lot of volatility because of that feeling of emotional ups and downs. Because with this aspect, it really has strong potential to be able to bring into a relationship a strong emotional attachment for both of the partners, where they're both afraid of losing the connection. So even though with trines, this tends to be a very harmonious aspect, with Pluto, it's still going to bring up a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities, but it is also, with this aspect, going to lead to things like possessiveness or even jealousy because of this emotional attachment that they have with each other and the fear of losing the connection. And another side of Pluto is that it's also to do with power and control. And even though with the trine, it is going to be a more subtle energy, there is also this desire to be able to influence the other partner, especially their emotional state. And this can happen whenever somebody is afraid of losing the connection, but also as a way to protect oneself and their sense of self in this connection. And so this can look like a lot of manipulation or controlling behaviors in the connection coming up between them. But when it comes to having this aspect for both of the partners, they're going to have a strong emotional connection. They're also going to go through a lot of emotional transformation in this connection with each other. And when it comes to a lot of situations that do play out in this connection with each other, that lead to that emotional transformation that does happen in this connection with each other, both of them going through a lot that leads to a lot of personal changes. But before that can happen, they also need to be able to adapt and really grow in these ways. And this connection is going to go through a lot of what feels like upheaval when it comes to that process, and even those experiences that lead to this emotional transformation for both of them. So even with the trine, with this aspect, it does bring in a level of intensity that at times can even be overwhelming, or it can be very exhausting to deal with, and it can even feel like it can even feel draining. Because even with the trine, emotional highs and lows can still take place. And the reason why with this aspect, this can really bring in a lot for both of the partners is because with this aspect, it really makes all of the emotions that are experienced be felt on a deeper level. So it feels like they are amplified for both of the partners, which can lead to more sensitivity in the connection when it comes to their responses. And even when it comes to simple misunderstandings that can happen between two people, they get more magnified because of this aspect. Because with their kind of bond, they have this understanding of each other where they are able to really pick up on a lot of the nuances between each other. So they can really read more into a situation than what is necessary. And they are able to pick up on subtle clues, which heightens the sensitivity in this relationship. And another thing that this aspect can add is a really difficult time for both of the partners to move on, especially if things do go south in the connection and they are required to be able to kind of part. They would have a very difficult time letting go of this connection. It does feel like there's an attachment, and that attachment lingers on, and that can make it hard to walk away, or it can make it hard to really move forward. Overall, when it comes to having this aspect can really turn a relationship into a pretty deep bond between two people. It also can feel like it is happening in a way that's very rare and unique. And between the two partners, they can have the sense of understanding and just getting each other on a deep level where it feels like they are able to see into each other's souls. Because it can bring up a lot of feelings, a lot of vulnerabilities that someone would usually try to keep hidden. And in the positive, it really can lead to a lot of growth, a lot of healing. However, when it comes to the more difficult side of having this aspect, it really can happen if someone starts to feel too intense or too dependent, and that can lead to some tension with this aspect. However, when it comes to having this aspect, it really is one that, if handled with care, it is the kind of connection that can lead to both of the partners, changing for the better. And it is especially transformative. Well, that does it for this video on having your moon trining your partner's Pluto in synastry. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you found it helpful. And if you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos. Well, that is where I love and leave you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.